And we're live.
There we go. Office hours.
Office hours. Dude. I love it.
Hey, everybody. Welcome.
Hey. Welcome to this week's Office Hours with David Chudak and myself, Rob Hussein.
Good to see everybody. Sorry in advance. I'm a little under the weather today, everybody, but we're here to talk about important things, so I couldn't miss it.
Yeah. David's been battling this wicked chest infection, flu,
it's
craziness that's happening.
That's
been taking him out. But the dude's a fighter, man. He's coming on. He's still working through stuff.
Nothing can stop me. I'm just been riding Tricycle around, you know.
Nice. I'd be like laying on the ground.
Well, you know what? I've been there before. It's not, it's not there yet.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited. Today we got some good stuff. We're digging in. We're not going to go super technical, but we're going to talk about some of the cool stuff that's going on in the turnkey e-commerce space, specifically Shopify, who I've got some buddies down there, and I have some family members that use Shopify for stores and stuff, but so it's extra interesting for me. But we're just going to talk about what is Shopify doing with AI right now, and sort of like different areas of their business, and how are they embracing AI. And then we sort of wanted to talk about how's that going to change the shopping experience, both agentically online, but maybe one day agentically in the store, and perhaps even one day robotically in the store, where agents are tapping into your product information and able to provide that and sell products in a physical environment. So just talking about the future of e-commerce, but also the future of physical commerce to some extent.
Yeah. So why don't you start off with like this whole integration that Shopify started with? AI in all these different areas we were telling you about. I don't want to jump ahead.
Not long ago, Shopify has sort of unleashed the big OpenAI integration, where they jointly announced a deal so that Shopify merchants can essentially sell directly inside of the GPT interface. So what they're doing is sort of connecting product information so that it's directly accessible for agents. And then on the agent side, Shopify has built something within their interface which allows people to search for products, but then also purchase products right from within GPT via the Shopify site, which I thought was really interesting. Because this is a bigger conversation about like how crawlable is your website to an agent, but very forward thinking of Shopify to be thinking of like, what does that shopping experience look like, and what does that evolution of e-commerce look like, and how do we remain relevant from a search engine optimization and an agentic optimization standpoint. So I thought it was really an interesting evolution, but I also thought about like, how does that change like the buying experience for buyers, and what does that look like? There are buyers who want to come on a website and get the beautiful website and go through all that, but there's a lot of people out there that are just like into efficiency and love that like Amazon one touch buying experience where you just slide the thing over, you don't have to go through the checkout, and it's a buy now, and I think there's a lot of people out there that know what they want, and they know they want it right away, and this allows them to get there much quicker. And it's like sort of like product main veining, it just like connects you right into that product database and allows you to transact. And I thought that's pretty cool. And Rob and I were sort of talking, and we're thinking like, what's the future of that? Like, what does that look like in the store, where maybe you scan a thing on the wall and it's got all that like agentic commentary on your product set? And, Shopify has sort of like buyer side tools where you can get some help with like, the products and stuff like that. But, even further than that, what does that look like further down the road when there are like robot sales people within the store, which I don't think we're too far off of, because there's a lot of pressures within the market with labor rates and product like profit margins in these companies where they're trying to stay competitive. And if their competitor does this, it's going to give them a pretty big margin advantage. So I assume most people are going to gravitate towards doing these things soon, you know?
Yeah, like we've been seeing like kiosks, like
Yep.
McDonald's, all these quick service restaurants picking it up.
Yep.
You can either go to the counter, or you can just go and kind of like order it off the screen and then wait for your number and pick things up. And so,
Precisely.
you know, when you get into products and you get into stores, the whole experience could be different, and maybe it's not so central around the products you sell, but the experience you provide in the store.
Yeah, and
And
I think you hit on, that's a great point, Rob, because I was saying that specifically about McDonald's, because if you look at what's happened, there's a McDonald's in my area where it used to be very like a long, sort of like narrow McDonald's, and about half of it was the kitchen and half of it was the front of house. And they actually re-engineered it, so 3/4 of it is kitchen and only 1/4 of it's like for people to stand now. And they've got the area for the delivery guys, and there's about twice the amount of staff in the kitchen that was back there before, because they've upped the volume of takeout orders. They've made front of house much more efficient. Like, I can be walking down the sidewalk ordering my coffee before I get there, so no longer am I standing in their real estate ordering my coffee and waiting for it. Now they're using outdoor real estate as part of their like place where people can order, which is brilliant, because like that's free, you know, sidewalks free. You don't want, you know, so it's kind of, and it's convenient for your end user, right? So it's like, and I'm seeing that evolution where that front of house service is actually much better, because the people are less engaged with doing all that grunt work and more like able to go clean up the tables and, you know, bring meals over to the table for seniors and do, you know, just do those little cool things that they weren't doing as much before because they were super busy. And also I thought it was interesting is that, when will those kiosks be gone and we'll all just be using mobile and we'll reclaim that real estate? And maybe there will be one kiosk for the people that don't have the mobile app and no cash machine. And if the person's having trouble, that front end person just comes out and helps them do it on the kiosk. And there's maybe a way to transact in cash, like those Dollarama caches where you can put in the bills and stuff. And then it just becomes like no more cash. We just have a front expediting area where we give you the products which you've ordered. So very cool stuff going on. I think like just trying to imagine what that evolution looks like. Like we're just two guys trying to figure it out and think about it.
Pontificating on it. But
but it's kind of like cool to think like a lot of those things are going to be changing and have been changing and will continue to change. And e-commerce is no different than those things. And probably there's people with e-commerce stores and physical stores, and they're thinking, hey, what's going to happen next? And I think, you know, Shopify and McDonald's are showing us what's going to happen next.
It usually starts with those bigger, you know, large conglomerates and then comes down. But
precisely.
Going back to Shopify for a second, there was something that I think you had talked about when we were backstage about, I think you called it Shopify Magic.
There's some cool tools in the sort of like on Shopify. So you can have there's like Shopify Magic, which I think is helping people content author and author copy and fill in products and stuff like that. And then there's also like a Shopify Sidekick. And the Sidekick is like more like your back end Sidekick. So you can, it's trained on all the Shopify features and documentation. So you can ask it questions about how to like enable things on your shop, or it'll give you like answers about like, hey, why'd my sales drop last week? Or, make an email announcing our new collection or whatever. And it'll know what your new collection is and be able to write, something up where you can turn it into an HTML email. So there's tools both on the buyer side and on the store owner side, which are really cool. I thought like it was really neat that on the buyer side, there's like AI search and discovery. So you can use it to search all the products that are on the storefront. So you can really like avoid a lot of customer service with these like refined tools. And this isn't your like average janky AI bot. These guys have got all of it washed out, and it's like directly connected to the context of your product catalog and what you are doing at your store. So right now, like, yeah, just amazing things going on, I think, um on the e-commerce side. And yeah, and just looking at other turnkey solutions like we were talking about, Wix and some of those other, Squarespace and some of those solutions providers that are, getting into that same hemisphere of like offering that in their product suite, right?
Yeah, yeah. Because I know I think there's other apps and things like that that you can plug into Shopify that can do some of that stuff. But it's very cool that Shopify is now making it some of these native and have those
Yeah.
abilities. So as a Shopify subscriber, store owner, you get access to these tools that can help you better be more successful and create efficiency. So you don't have to go through all that creating content, setting up emails, doing all these things. When it has all the information there, it can
Yeah, I
start
know. And like,
generating the
just like
text
Rob,
and
think about
imagery.
like 20 years ago what e-commerce looked like. Like I was there, yeah, 25 years ago when we were building the first e-commerce site for Town Shoes and the Shoe Company. And that was actually with Dot Fusion
Yeah,
way back.
yeah,
Yeah, which is
right
cool.
on.
That's how all this Tricycle stuff sort of comes full circle.
Yeah,
But to see where commerce has come from that time, where we were shooting 10,000 products per season in like photo cubes with lighting and cold cropping and like doing all kinds of like really
hmm
like crazy stuff,
yeah.
which was very laborious. And
I was going to say laborious.
all the copywriting for all those products, which made me a copywriting master alongside my team, because we like, it was all hands on deck to just mash
Yeah,
some of this stuff. It didn't matter who was who, and you're just like trying to get your content team set up, right? So yeah, it's interesting to see now that if you're running a drop shipping store on Shopify, you can get like, take a picture of what you're doing, put it into Nano Banana and clean it up into a beautiful product thing, go into Shopify, have it write a product description, do. Like really, it's like an interesting time, because now it becomes less about like that production grunt work and more about like best practices of running a store and knowing the actual parts that are important to running a store. And this is sort of like, that gets to being like the important side of it though, because the business plan and having a business plan is actually the important part. It's not about having a dream of selling a paperclip,
right.
right? Like I don't know how many restaurateurs sort of like I've seen open up in the area where, in Midtown, where I'm like, I don't know if these guys know how many burritos they're going to have to sell in a day just to break even in a rent
Sure.
space that's like 25,000, $30,000 a month. And it does, some of
Mhm.
these things don't seem extremely well thought through. And I think like what these tools are doing for shop owners is it's focusing your energy on the things you need to be focused on to run a successful business, not just the
Yeah,
fluff of like building a beautiful this and doing all that stuff's great. And it's great to
yeah,
finesse those things. But you and I both know that if there isn't like a product with a good margin and a sustainable acquisition model and all of these things, then
yeah,
there's no there's no long-term viability to it, right? So I
yeah,
think like it's allowing store owners to focus on the things that are gonna make them successful if they are able to do that stuff, right? And
yeah,
that's what
yeah.
business is all about, is sort of like, trying to
No,
figure out
definitely.
that puzzle. But
And I gotta believe these tools are going to be able to help with that, right? So that they'll be able to look at the numbers and look at their sales and say you need to be selling X to be doing this,
yeah,
or make
yeah.
sure you're at least your margins are this to get that. So I think it's kind of leveling the playing field, and I think I see that across that. That for me is the theme with AI across the board for a lot of people. It can uplift people who don't have it or don't have the knowledge or the experience, and also level up the people who do to use it in different ways. So it can help just kind of, what's that saying? Like all like the tide rises, all ships rise. There's a saying to that.
Yeah, yeah,
Chris
yeah,
would
yeah.
know. Chris would know the saying.
Yeah,
He's
Chris,
not here with us. He'd know the saying.
he's probably on a sailing ship right now, actually, like a
He
sailing.
is. He is. I know he's out there. he's working remotely on the other side of the pond, off the coast of France, I believe. But
amazing. South France,
I
very
chatted
cool
with him earlier this week.
Yeah.
So what else is happening with Shopify and their AI ability?
They've like I'm not going to go too deep in like the technical side of stuff today, but I will say that they've got other partnerships similar to the OpenAI partnership. I think they've got one with Anthropic, and they've got one with Perplexity to accomplish that same end goal of being able to buy right within the LLM like interface.
So wild.
Which is cool. And I think that's just about creating like a reliable connection, like an MCP tool for people to talk to your content. And it probably like just plays off of like a public API for Shopify that has certain rate limiting characteristics for the way that it's going to be used through these models. I'm not entirely sure what the mechanics are, but that's what I would assume is there's like an extension cord that can talk to all their data properly. And it's very cool because, like I said, buying within that environment might be preferable for some people. They're just like, hey, where do I find the cheapest pair of yellow socks to go with my outfit? Oh, here's the Shopify store. Do you want to buy it right now? And we'll have it shipped to you by like Wednesday in time for your whatever you're doing. Right. And they're like, yep, perfect. That's great. Show me the options. And that's better than if you're like at an office and you're doing all this stuff and you're trying to find a yellow pair of socks and you're like searching 5 different websites and doing comparing prices. That's the thing. You're like, when I ask this thing for the cheapest pair, it's going to find it for me. It's going to tell me everything about it's a 20% poly cotton, and it can give you all this stuff you need to make that buying decision. And then you're like, sure, I don't need to see the whole website with all the cool animations and I don't need that anymore. Like we're past that. We've gone full, like it's sort of like it comes full circle. I feel like we're back from like Windows to like DOS now. Like we're like everything I'm doing is like so much easier at the like command line now. And you're like,
that's hilarious.
It's really funny. But also at the same time, you got to think maybe we're gravitating slightly towards that for things that are easier, but probably we're going to be more moving towards augmented reality and virtual reality in the future, where we have like, I showed you guys that thing the other day where they had this like retinal screen which had more pixels in it per inch than it like is distinguishable by the eye. So essentially it looks like full reality, like, and it would be like a contact lens. So we're almost at the point where we'll have like wearables for like HUD overlays while we're shopping. It'll be like pulling up stuff, or like while cars are about to hit us, like it'll be like danger, like
I think of that movie. What was that? There was like a Tom Cruise movie where he's in the future and it was like
Minority Report. Minority Report. Like that was before the crimes even happen, right? It's and that's the cool thing is like, you look at like criminal profiling and like what better use of AI than than for criminal profiling, where like you have 72 hours or something before like it's too late, and it's just like that stuff's mind-blowing.
There's so much stuff happening in the space, but coming back to that, to Shopify AI, because I know
I know we keep we keep well, there's all these like meandering roads
things. Oh, for sure. And there's always like this thread that connects them, right? So we talked about content, we talked about analyzing data and making stores more successful with Shopify and all the different AI features that they have plugged in. I'm trying to think if I was missing anything. I know that I think they've even amped up their support and help desk stuff with AI as well. It's funny how they're adding it into so many places. And then this partner ecosystem that I think they have, that other apps that you can plug in, or other ways that you can plug in, which I think they'll just keep rolling these features into their service offering, which makes complete sense for somebody who's got Shopify or is opening up.
The other tool that I was going to talk about is for like template, like for template deving, also like Anthropic using Claude's MCP, you can like tie into that like template development now. So instead of having to do any coding, I believe you can tie in with that MCP right into the Shopify interface to design like custom templates and stuff, where in the past you would have had to have like a knowledge of coding to, or at least be able to like look at it and say, okay, I want to change this part and this is what's happening with the code. And I've done that on a few Shopify sites myself. But I've got a bit more experience in that area to get what I want to do. But to be able to just use an MCP and be like, okay, add like a read more section here so that the content isn't so verbose and it's collapsible. For me, that might take half an hour. For an MCP, it might take less than a minute. Right. Wow. So it's kind of like you're taking those and for the average store owner, they're not able to go in there and start editing core template files. So they'd have to call their dev, get a quote, go through this whole rigmarole, unless they've got like a dude that they can just like tap on the shoulder and be like, hey, do you know how this works? Typically for like small shop owners, that's not the case.
That's not the case.
For my wife, it is. Like, she can just be like, hey, figure this crap out.
She has an in-house dev. She has an in-house dev. But yeah, for the everyday person who wants to launch a Shopify site, it's now making it even easier.
Precisely.
And better and more efficient for them, which is cool. Because I know many moons ago, I was putting together a Shopify site and I found it very laborious. And I thought it was a lot of work. And that's using the platform. And now knowing that they have like these AI tools to kind of help you evolve and do that stuff, it's very interesting.
It's as soon as you start going, like, you just want to, like, if you're going to do anything in Shopify, regardless of whether you're using AI tools, back everything up frequently so that you just have and then you don't feel so bad playing with stuff, and you can play with stuff in the background and then, switch it over to live after you and do a switcheroo. So you don't have to be like acting like a crazy maverick or anything. You can like have some backup plans and stuff and do some, and that way you can do some testing and not worry about blowing everything up. And I think that's how you learn. Is just sort of like not being afraid to break things, but also trying to find a way to cause a backup plan if you do break things, right? So then you feel ultra secure and you can really explore. You're like, okay, I've got a full backup of the site. Now I can go, and if I muff it up, I can just like flip the switch back and we're good, right? So that's what I would say is, if you are a Shopify store owner and you're listening to any of this stuff that I'm saying, don't just go and do it right away. Have a plan.
Very important. Very
important. And that's my disclaimer for not being responsible. No, I'm just
kidding. Good luck to you. Don't send a message.
But in reality, if you are a Shopify store owner, don't be scared, because right now it's a good time to roll up your sleeves and do this stuff. Just and use a model, like go ask ChatGPT, how do I do this without breaking it? And say, what do I need to back up? And take a screenshot and be like, here's what I see, and walk your way through it and try to get some help doing whatever you're doing. But like I said, there's that Shopify Sidekick internally that can tell you how to do everything based on Shopify documentation. So you don't need an external model for that. And you can get there very easily, but back up your work, make sure you're doing it safe, and just go nuts. I would say start using this stuff. I'm going to try to reach out to Shopify. I got some buddies that were in there like when they were like, I think, under 15 employees. So I got some people in there that are like early days that probably can point us in the right direction to get someone on the show. And I'd love to just get them on here to talk about it, because it's very relevant to, AI marketing and AI e-commerce sales and stuff. And also just like, I love Shopify because they're Canadian and, the best turnkey solution that came out early. And now they've got so much momentum that I don't think anybody's going to catch them anytime soon. So, they're really cool. I really am interested to see, because I know Shopify has like Shopify POS, but I'm interested to see the future of Shopify in brick and mortar and what they envision that looking like, and how they're going to merge those, because that's a huge world for them, growth, like that's a huge growth market for them, right? Is getting in more into doing like the POS and the in-store experience and having it blended with that online experience. And yeah, I just want to see the future of that. I don't know what it's going to look like. We talked about some of the way that might look in the future, but I'd love to hear from Shopify, like what some of their plans are.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the brick and mortar guys, we talk a lot about commercial real estate. That's always physical space. There's a lot of retailers, a lot of people starting businesses going into these spaces. And I think we talked about it at the beginning where like you have to have both now. You can't just be like, hey, I have a store on the corner of, whatever, Main Street and Yonge. You have to have some online presence as well, and they've got to work together. So I'd love to hear what Shopify has in mind for that.
Yeah, it's cool. I think it would be really neat. Yeah, really neat. Yeah. And just good to hear from like one of the leading tech companies in our country about like, what do they think about the rest of the AI? Not what's going on in their world, but like what's going on in our world, and like what, and just like sort of have a conversation, from both sides of the table, and gain some perspective on each other's world would be cool. Cause like, just love talking to people on the show and getting the ideas going. Cause there's someone out there watching that's like, oh, I gotta do that. Or,
oh, if you want to come on, let us know. Send us a message.
Yeah. If you've got something cool to talk about and you guys are running a business that maybe even isn't even involved in AI at all, and is just thinking about like, how would a business like mine even get into it? It'd be great to have a conversation with people who aren't even sure about how to like start that conversation. It's funny because we when we were at ICSC, the commercial real estate show, we met these leaders like a mayor and his wife and an economic development officer from a small town in Alberta. And it was a very unsuspecting sort of like meetup. And they were like, oh, we really wanted to talk to you guys. And we ended up having dinner with them. And it's really cool to see, because they've got no AI implemented. And it's really cool to see like just how excited they are about like the stuff that we were talking about and the way that we could leverage some of that stuff at their town. And Rob saw that we did a little voice demo spin up for them that like pretty much knows everything that's on their website and can answer questions and give garbage schedules and all that stuff. And I think just talking to people that aren't using AI at all and getting them excited to use it by themselves and give them a few things they can take away and be like, hey, you got that cool, your wife's got that cool clothing business. Look what you can do with this, this, and this, or, interior design business, and you can do this, this, and this. Right. So it's kind of just really interesting to show people, get that light going off in their head. And then they want to talk more about these things and say like, we want to go deeper. We want to look more at this stuff because it's valuable to us, and we're trying to, and I think, it's cool. And places like that, it's funny because like you think like AI for big organizations, but like AI for small organizations is more important than big, because small organizations have a very limited amount of people resources, a very limited amount of time, a very limited amount of money. So when you're talking about a small town that's maybe like 20,000 people, they don't have the AI budget that a town of 500,000 people has. And they don't have the staff to be doing it. So if they can free up some staff in a small town like that, like every hour of people's time that they're freeing up allows them to focus on economic development, growth, population growth, expansion. And these are really like important moments for people that have small businesses, not to sort of like have the head in the sand with regards to AI and be scared of it. You got to sort of like think, just like get out there and try to use it a little bit and get some wins for your business, right?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity. Hopefully people are seeing it more and more. I know there's some AI overwhelm, there's some AI hype, there's some like a lot of things, but I think at the core it's like if you recognize that you have to do more with less, it's definitely something that you should be looking at, definitely trying to implement somehow, some way.
Yeah.
And, maybe that's something we talk about on one of the future shows, where how businesses can implement AI and how they start looking at those processes. I know we were talking before jumping on of like looking at all your manual processes and how do they work, and then where can AI fit? And I think there's a whole process.
I think
really good mindset for that.
Yeah, for sure. And I'd love to talk about that. And I'd also like to talk about like businesses that are like a one-man band, where it's just like a one-person business, and like how does that person start to look at leveraging AI? And yeah, that was a conversation Rob and I had ahead of time, and we were talking about agents. And I said the best thing about agent design is start with what you're doing right now as a human, and then think, well, what's my best world scenario of that? So you think, okay, I want to make it a little better like this. Okay, now we're going to try to use like ChatGPT to do that manually. And you start to figure out, okay, what's the prompt? What documents does it need? What information, what rails? And you start to look at that. So I'd love to talk about that, Rob, because getting into talking about like agent design best practices, and how do you get from like being a guy that does it manually to a guy that does it manually in an LLM to a guy that now knows how to do it with AI, and how do we like turn that into an agentic task where it's able to complete that either within an app or within a timed triggered environment or whatever. So yeah, love to talk about that. That's a whole show and a half right there.
Yeah. Well, maybe we have a little series or something we do. That's a great way to kind of tease for the next upcoming show, because we've hit our time. We're just over 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is crazy and wild, but
hopefully I'm back from the dead next week, guys.
I'm sure you'll be better.
I'm gonna get some rest.
You get some rest and everything. Just take this moment to thank everybody for joining us. Hope you found some value in the call. Check us out every week, every Wednesday at 3 p.m. We're on live here, and we always post and share afterwards that the recordings on YouTube that you can find. And with that, I'll say thank you to David. Thanks for fighting through it.
Oh man, no, thank you. I always enjoy doing this with you, and I wouldn't miss it unless I absolutely had to.
Yeah, no worries. No worries at all. All right, with that, we'll let everybody go. I know we're a couple of minutes over. Hopefully you stuck with us. We'll see you next week, and take care. Have a good one.
Have a good one, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Take care.